Use this camera anywhere and it is likely to get you arrested or even worse. This is a camera that I have not used outside and I just wouldn't dare to do it. Well, hey everybody, thank you for checking in once again and welcome to another one. Well, today we are going to have a look at a camera that I would hesitate to use anywhere outside. It's absolutely unique. I've never seen anything quite like it. I think it is completely on its own in the whole history of Photographica and photographic machines. This is a camera that if you use it outside anywhere in the world, pretty much, that I can think of, unless you're in the rainforest or something in the Amazon, and even then, I wouldn't count your chances as very safe. Use this camera anywhere and it is likely to get you arrested or even worse. This is a camera that I have not used outside and I just wouldn't dare to do it. What camera is it? Well, let's have a look. I'll show you the camera. This camera was sent to me by long-time viewer and friend of the channel, Lionel Zorzovic, so many thanks for that, Lionel. Really appreciate that. Many thanks for your support and for sending this lovely old bit of kit in. Let's take it out of the box. Right, this camera comes in two pieces and I'm going to show you the first of it. The first piece is the camera and the lens, and the second piece involves the release mechanism. First I'll show you the camera and the lens, and it's a good job we're shooting in widescreen. Here it is. Just look at that. Is that not a monster of a camera and lens? It's a Zenit 12 XPS. It's a fairly late run of Zenit production, so this is a sort of standard Zenit camera, and the lens is a Tear something or other. Tear 3S. This is an f4.5 300mm lens, and it's a very long lens, and it's also a very heavy lens. There's a very heavy piece of kit. The camera is just an ordinary Zenit 12 XP. I will do some independent shots of the camera and all of this kit so you can see it more clearly. Right, so that's the camera and lens. I'll show you the next bit. This is why you can't take it out on the street. Here's the other bit. It's a rifle stock with, there are no gun parts on it, it's not a gun, but it's a trigger release for the camera. You can, I don't know if you can see that there, I will put this on screen. I don't know if you can see the little mechanism, you probably can't because it's focusing on me, but there is a rifle stock for a camera, and so you can probably see that this is the Zenit Photo Sniper, and it's well named because this really does look like a gun, and this is why I would not dare use this camera on the street for fear of immediate arrest and quite possibly worse. So the camera goes together. In theory, it goes together like this. Oh, so you can see the two bits fit together and you end up with a machine that looks like this, a camera on a gun stock. Now, try as I might, I cannot get these two bits to go together. It's a simple screw thread. There's a little thread there, a bolt there, and a place for it to go there, but they're completely different sizes. This part here is larger than this part here, so I'm not sure whether I'm missing something or whether I'm just being a bit silly and not doing it right, which really wouldn't be at all surprising. But if I could get it together, and believe me, I have tried for about half an hour this morning to get this flipping thing together, and it wouldn't go together, which irked me somewhat. But there we are. That's just because I was getting ready to shoot the episode. But there we are. That's what it would look like if I could get it together. And to fire it is simply a matter of pressing the trigger. It's just incredible. So let me show you by winding the camera on manual. It's just an ordinary Zenit camera that winds on the top there. And so when you put these bits together, let's assume that it is actually screwed together. Then you can see that when you pull that grip, then the camera actually goes off. And so what an incredible piece of engineering this is. It's really, really nicely engineered, actually, or at least, no, there's a caveat there. Much of it is nicely engineered, some of it isn't, but I'll show you what I mean by that. It's also really, really heavy, which is why I haven't done many images with it. I did take it out just for a few minutes, really, yesterday, but because of my back condition, it's actually very difficult for me to carry heavy things very far, so I couldn't really shoot for very long, but I did manage to get some images with it. But it's so heavy that anybody with a back condition or any other physical condition that makes things tricky, this is far too heavy to use anyway, so it's just as well that you can't take it out on the street. There we are. There's a nice little rubber eye cup on the back here, if you can see that. So put your eye to that, and it's just makes a nice seal for the light. There is an interesting story to this camera, which I'll tell you in a moment, but I'll just point out some differences to the standard Zenit. The shutter button is a little taller than I've seen on the usual models. There's the usual shutter speed dial on the top here, and it's got the usual range of Zenit shutter speeds, 30th to 1/30th to 1/500th and B. That never changed right throughout production as far as I'm aware. So I said it was a standard Zenit, and it kind of is, but there are one or two little differences. There's a difference on the bottom plate here. So here's an electrical connector on the bottom, and so there's a little plug and a socket there to plug that electrical connector in. I don't know what it actually does, but I'm sure it does something. Something to do with aperture or flash or so, I don't know, but there's an electrical connector there. And down in the bottom here, this is the link for the actual shutter button. There's a little pin on the rifle stock that comes up when you press the trigger, and it pushes a little button inside there, and that's your shutter release. Although you can release the shutter in the ordinary way, like that. Focusing happens by this control at the front here. You can see that the lens extends and retracts as I turn that. So that's a nice little control, because there's a geared rack, toothed rack that it uses on the bottom of the lens here. I don't know if you can just see that. It's a little geared rack. So there's clearly an interesting little gearing mechanism in here to turn the motion, rotational motion in this direction to forward and backward motion in this direction. It's clearly got some nice gears in there, so that's nice to see. I am surprised to see that the geared rack, the toothed rack, is actually in nylon. So while there is some nice engineering, there's also some engineering that's a little bit cheap, like the nylon geared rack that will wear. And I don't know why they didn't make that in brass. Well, no, I do know why they didn't make it in brass, because nylon is cheaper. But it's strange, because all the rest of the camera is really nicely engineered in metal, aluminium and steel by the weight of it. I'm going to have to put this flipping thing down because it's just so jolly heavy. Whew, and it's really not comfortable to hold even for very long, never mind carry around all day. Rifle stock here with a little handle on the back so that you can steady your shoulder, steady it against your shoulder. I think probably I've got that upside down actually. Have I? Have I got it upside down? It wouldn't be the first time I've got something upside down. Yeah, I think maybe like this. Yeah, maybe like that. So it leans nicely against your shoulder, and this part here is sort of underneath, slightly underneath your arm. So that gives a very good steady platform. That does give a very, very steady platform for shooting a long lens. You're braced very solidly against your body, and there's not really a lot of room for vibration or tremors or anything else going on there. So in that sense, you know, when I first saw this several years ago, I first saw a picture of one, I thought that it was a little bit theatrical. And I suppose there is a sense of theatre in it. It doesn't really need to be like this, you know, built like a gun. But actually doing that now, putting it there now, I can see that that is a really solid support. So I'm not sure it is theatrical. I think it's practical as well. There is an interesting story behind how this camera evolved, and I'm going to tell it to you. Well, now apparently this was a machine that came out of the Soviet military in, I think, the 1950s sometime. I think maybe the mid-50s, thereabouts. And I don't know if this is apocryphal, I don't know how true it is, but the story that I've read, the story that's online, is that the premier, the Soviet premier of the time, Mr. Khrushchev, Nikita Khrushchev, rather liked these photo sniper kits. I think perhaps he was given one, he was presented with one. They were originally made not with the Zenit camera, but with the Zorki 1 rangefinder, I believe. Do correct me if you know different, but as I understand it, they were originally supplied with a Zorki 1 rangefinder attached. One of these was given to Khrushchev, and he really liked it. And apparently when he came back to have it serviced at the factory, I think it was the KMZ factory, I'm not sure, but I think so. I know KMZ made these certainly in the later part of production, but anyway, whichever factory it was, he went there to have it serviced, and asked whether you know, why this kit wasn't released and on sale to the public, because it was a really good practical thing for getting shots on a very long lens, a really good steadying mechanism. So I guess when the you know, the premier of the party asks you why it's not been released to the public, that means the premier of the party thinks it should be released to the public, and so it was. It was released and it was sold right up until, I think, the early 80s, maybe the mid 80s, maybe even a little later, I'm not sure. I know these were made up until fairly late, and I know that they were used for people who like bird watching. Lot of these kits went to bird watchers. I mean, I guess some members of the press could have used them, though I'm not sure they would. I think the symbolism is all wrong, really. But anybody who wanted a long lens and didn't mind using a camera that looked like a light machine gun, then that was the camera for you. I guess that's how it went. But that's the story, and it's quite an interesting story. Because it's got a personal element, it's got an actual human being who was involved in it, and you know, a historical figure. So there we are, an interesting story, or so I thought anyway. Okay, the lens. Oh, some birds walking on the roof up there. The lens. Let's remove the camera so that we've at least taken a little bit of the weight down, so it's not quite such flipping agony to hold. This really is a very, very heavy piece of kit, and it's not doing my my back too much good. But anyway, let's show you the lens here. So here is the lens. We've seen it, and it's a monstrous thing. There it is. Beautiful big front element. Look at that. How nice is that? Really nice piece of glass. This is a practical lens. It's efficient. It's good at its job. It's not really painted in any way that's meant to look enticing or interesting to a consumer. It's just got this sort of black enamel finish that protects the surface, and that's it. You can see this is a military sort of piece of kit that's, you know, originated without the need for fanciful designs. It is an f4 lens. If you look on the aperture marks here, we've got only f11, f16 and f22, which kind of threw me to begin with, and I didn't realise where f4 was supposed to be, but there is a control here, this control here, so that if you turn that one way or another, yeah, like that, that will open up the aperture to f4, either for shooting or just to open up, you know, if you've selected a smaller aperture to shoot at, you can open up to there to actually focus and you know, get some light in. You can see what you're doing. And when the trigger is pressed, boom, that control resets, and we're back down to, I think it resets to f11, pretty small aperture, whatever it does reset to, I'm not really sure, but a very small aperture setting. It's actually a nice lens. As I say, I couldn't use it for very long because it's just too heavy to use, but it's actually quite a nice lens, and it does give quite a nice image. You really do need a tripod. It dwarfs the Sony a7C. I mean, it would dwarf any camera, and somewhere there is a tripod mounting. I think it's on the gun stock somewhere. No? Maybe there isn't a tripod mounting. No, I don't think there is a tripod mounting. So yeah, so to use this lens, you've got to be a proper tough guy. Yeah, you've got to be young and vigorous and full of energy and strength to use this lens, and under those conditions I'm sure it would be fine. I shot it minimally, and if we take a look at some of these shots, you can see it's actually a very nice lens. It's pretty sharp. Don't forget these are shot at f11 because I hadn't discovered how to shoot at f4 at that point. So it's very sharp. It gives some really nice background blur. It's not too much blur if you keep the aperture small, if you keep it down to f11 or thereabouts. And you know, I had thought actually that the whole visual field, the whole background would be blurred out to mush, but it isn't. It preserves details because I shot it at f11. But if you do that, it gives you some really nice background blur. It's quite soft, it's quite well behaved. There's nice bubbles from point light sources. So as an optic, yeah, it's really lovely. And I guess if you had a permanent fixture and emplacement for this, not a gun emplacement, but a camera, you know, if you had somewhere permanent to put it, like if you were using it for, I don't know, bird watching or something, you've got a field nearby or some trees nearby, you want to look at the birds and you want a permanent setup, I guess that would be absolutely fine for that. But really I think these days this is pretty much just a curiosity and a museum piece. They're not very valuable because there are lots and lots and lots of them made. You can buy one, you can find one for about 100 to 150 quid. It's very, very interesting as a piece of photographic history, but as an actual machine to use, I think there are better choices for a long lens. Get a mirror lens. If you want a lens this long, get a mirror lens, or get a micro 4/3 camera, and then get a lens with half the focal length, a 135 or a 150, and you've got pretty much nearly 300 mils anyway. That's what I would advise if you really want to shoot that long. Don't use a full frame glass lens because they're just horribly heavy. Right, there's some other things in the box. I'll show you what else came in the box. Bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, I've got the box on the lap. Here are the contents of the box. In the box we have a lens hood. That's very, very useful because this lens is fairly, what can I say, it's sensitive to sunlight because it's got a big front element right at the front of the lens, so it is very sensitive to sunlight. A lens hood's exactly what you need for this kind of lens, and it comes with one. That's nice to see. We've also got, oh, what have we here? I feel like I'm doing the lucky dip. We've got 2 very nice original metal, metal reloadable 35mm cassettes. That's pretty cool. I was wondering where I might get some of those because you don't see too many of those around today. Here are some pretty much nice new ones that don't look to have ever been used. That's a find. What else have we got? We have got screwdrivers, or a screwdriver, a nice straight screwdriver, a little bit of wire, and some filters. So we've got a whole collection of filters, and I think many of these are for black and white photography. This is a green one, green filter, and we've got an orange filter, and then we have a yellow filter. There's the yellow one. What else have we got? That's a clear one, and another yellow one, slightly less yellow one. Okay, I guess those are all for black and white photography back in the day. Put those on there. I don't think there is too much more in here actually. Let's see. Oh yeah, we've got another screwdriver. One of these. And one of these. There we are. And we've also got a set of instructions which are here. Here we are. These are the instructions for the Ensemble Photographique FS12 Notice Technique, and these are all in French because I think this camera was bought in France. It was sent to me from France. So there we've got all the nice Soviet era type instructions. Those will be familiar to anybody who's ever owned a Fed 4 or a Zorki 4. Not a huge instruction manual, but there's not really a lot to say about the camera once you've managed to put it together, which unfortunately I didn't. Whether it's something I've missed, whether the parts are a little bit wrong, whether they're a mismatch, or whether I'm just being very, very dim, which wouldn't be at all surprising. That's entirely possible. However, that is the Zenit Photo Sniper FS12. It was a very, very interesting camera to look at. It's one I've wanted to look at for quite some time. I've been very, very curious about them for many years actually, and I've often thought how cool it would be to handle one, to have one, and even to use one, though I don't think I'd thought through actually using one at the time when I thought that it would be pretty good to use one. And there we are. So a wonderful curiosity from the history of photography, sent by Lionel Zorzovich. Many thanks again Lionel, really appreciate you sending that. Thank you. So I guess that is it from me for today. Many thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, why not chuck us a sub? That would be appreciated. Many thanks to subscribers for your support, and many thanks to patrons for your support. I do appreciate all of the support that everyone gives to the channel. Very much appreciate all of it. Many thanks to anybody who has tuned in, given thanks, given super thanks, who has watched, or even who's not watched. That doesn't really make sense, does it? But thanks to everybody who has engaged with the channel in any way. Many thanks to everybody, and that is a sincere, heartfelt thank you. So, all that remains for me to say is, if you're not doing anything too bothersome, tricky or difficult at around this time next week, why not tune in and join us for a spot more Zenography. I will be here. I hope you can make it too. Until then, cheerio all.